Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David. I've been searching the interzones for more science, space and tech news to share with you and came across this. It's Science Alert. Yes, blasting Mars with glitter. Most efficient way to make it habitable. Okay, this will be interesting. Interesting indeed. If we ever want to set up long-term colonies on Mars, there are going to have to be changes. Mars is not exactly the most hospitable place in the solar system, and the current situation over there is not optimum for survival. Sounds very much like my place at Christmas time with all my relatives turning up after a few drinks. Right, so not least among the problems is the climate. Mars's temperatures dip way too low for the comfort of warm human bodies. The median sits at minus 64 degrees Celsius or minus 84 degrees Fahrenheit. 85 degrees Fahrenheit, sorry. If we want to terraform, we need to heat things up. And as usual, I'll leave the link to the main article below the video so you can pop in, check out these embedded links, go for a bit of a deeper dive if you want. Makes for an interesting read. Now, scientists have found a way to do just that, and they claim their method is 5,000 times more efficient than other strategies. Now, according to a team led by electrical engineer Samane Ansari of Northwestern University in the US, Mars could be warmed up and kept warm by releasing nanoscopic metal rods into the atmosphere to create and maintain a greenhouse effect. Now, you'd still need millions of tons to warm the planet, but that's 5,000 times less than you would need with previous proposals to globally warm Mars. This significantly increases the feasibility of the project, says geophysicist Edwin Kite of the University of Chicago, corresponding author on the research. Now, this suggests that the barrier to warming Mars to allow liquid water is not as high as previously thought. That's really interesting, isn't it? Terraforming Mars. Any planetary scientists out there or astronomers, anybody out there is obviously more up with this as I am. I'm not a scientist myself. I just love sharing science, space and tech news. Would it be possible to terraform Mars this way? I think it's very interesting. Interesting indeed. Now, the greenhouse effect is the most feasible way we know to warm up a planet. But in spite of Earth's situation, it's actually harder to generate than it seems. Previously proposed strategies for the greenhouse warming of Mars has invoked the need for greenhouse gases like those that warm Earth and Venus. Interesting. Now, here on Earth, greenhouse warming has proven much too easy. The atmosphere becomes filled with gases such as carbon dioxide and methane, which scatters heat radiating from the surface, allowing it to escape into space and causing temperatures to rise. Now, if we could pump Mars's tenuous atmosphere with these greenhouse gases, as per previous proposals, the warming effect would follow, raising the temperatures of Mars to a level where photosynthetic organisms could survive. Interesting. And I wonder how long it would take. Yeah, again, I'm not a scientist. I'm just, as I said, very interested in this stuff. And how practical would it be too? Now, could Elon get a lot of his space rockets up there and just dump this stuff into the atmosphere? Again, I don't know how it works. Just wondering, any aerospace engineers? Would they be able to work out, how much we would need, and if it would be physically feasible? Fascinating. Now, the problem is that Mars doesn't have a lot of the ingredients needed for this strategy. We'd either have to ferry it from Earth in huge quantities or try to mine it from the surface of Mars. Either way, it's expensive and difficult. But what if we worked with what Mars does already have readily available? Its surface soil. Martian rovers have ascertained is rich with metallic minerals such as aluminium and iron. What if we could blast tiny particles of sparkling metal into the Martian atmosphere like a glitter cannon to be borne aloft and trap sunlight the way carbon emissions do here on Earth? This is very interesting. A diagram illustrating the team's proposed method for terraforming Mars. Let's have a look. Okay, so there's surface of Mars. Okay, sunlight. There we go. All right, so releasing it from the ground, goes up into the atmosphere, and sunlight gets trapped. I thought with the greenhouse effect, sunlight was Oh, sorry, heat was trapped. Again, I'm just sort of thinking aloud here. Seem like I can understand the concept. Yeah, fascinating. So, if we'd use the natural Martian metallic elements in the soil, it could be done. Yeah, interesting. Fascinating. Ansari and her colleagues modelled tiny metallic rods the same size as the dust particles native to Mars, a little bit smaller than commercial glitter, with an aspect ratio of 60:1. To be released in the Martian sky, they calculated how much heat would be trapped by glittering metallic clouds of these nanorods, and how much dust would be required to produce and maintain a greenhouse effect. Now, the size and shape of the nanorods would keep the dust from falling down to Mars for 10 times longer than natural dust. If released at a sustained rate of 30 litres per second, the nanorods would produce the aforementioned warming, causing surface ice to melt and raising atmospheric pressure as carbon dioxide ice sublimes. Yeah, and how would we release it? Release the natural elements in the under the surface of Mars. Just wondering, yeah, it'd be interesting. Manufacturing it artificially and how much we need. I wonder if we could just manufacture enough, and this is just a thought, as I say, I'm just thinking aloud here. If we could manufacture just enough to get Mars to start doing this stuff automatically, if you know what I mean. Take some of it up there, get the process kicked off, then release some from the soil and get it to become a natural cycle, an artificial natural cycle, if you know what I mean. Yeah, fascinating. Atmospheric pressure would continue to increase over centuries as polar carbon dioxide ice caps volatilized. Yeah, interesting. Again, yeah, anybody out there has more knowledge than me will realise that I don't know what I'm talking about. But as I say, I'm just trying to work it all out here as a layman would, and seeing if it would be something that could actually be done. Maybe not this way, but I definitely think it's possible. This would not make Mars habitable by a long shot. There would still be insufficient oxygen in Mars's atmosphere to be breathable, but once the surface is habitable to bacteria, microbes could be installed to start the long, difficult job of oxygen production. Now, the nanorod's strategy would still take quite some time, in the range of several decades, but would ultimately warm Mars by more than 28 degrees Celsius, pushing its climate into a regime still not comfy for vertebrates, but warm enough for photosynthetic microbial life, a first important step towards a terraformed Mars. Yeah, and of course we've got to realise that, you know, if it's at minus, where are we? Minus, where's the temperature? Minus 24 degrees, 64 degrees. If you take roughly 30 off that, it's still minus 30 degrees. But it's a start. It's a start. Because even though minus 30 degrees is cold, it's survivable for humans if they've got the right infrastructure and accommodation. I mean, we survive in Antarctica and places. Look at Canada, for God's sake. And Alaska. How do you people survive in that? Be freezing with bloody follicles off. But it'd be a start. You know what I mean? Fascinating. Yeah. Now, there are also still some problems that might need to be resolved. It's not clear how long the nanorods would remain in Mars's atmosphere, which continues to leak into space. That's not unusual. All atmospheres are leaky, but Mars doesn't have a global magnetic field, providing containment like Earth does. Did Mars ever have a magnetic field? I'm assuming it did at one point. Yeah, because I did a video on an exoplanet we've discovered that does have its own magnetic field. Not much else, but it has a magnetic field. Fascinating. Love to hear from people who know more about that. That'd be interesting. Thank you. And as Mars warmed, the nanoparticles could end up attracting water particles like dust does in Earth's atmosphere and fall back down to the surface as rain. So it may not stay airborne for as long as we might like. This presents a potential speed hump that we don't quite know how to predict and will require further study. Nevertheless, the research opens new avenues for exploration and potentially brings us one step closer to the long-held dream of establishing a sustainable human presence on Mars, Kite says. Research has been published in Science Advances, and as I say, link to the main article below the video. You can pop in, check out the embedded links, Science Advances is a really good read. Check it out. It's awesome. Buy that little link there. Interesting. As I say, oftentimes if I don't have the knowledge, I'll always ask it if somebody can comment below who does. But I also like to think aloud with these things. This is part of the reason I make these videos. I'm just a fan. I'm an uber nerd and a fan of all science, whether it be planetary science, geology, archaeology, anything like that, computer science, technology. And I often use these videos to think aloud and, try and expand my own knowledge, so to speak. Yeah. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you on the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. If you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video because I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say, 11 a.m. Saturday mornings, Australian Eastern, summertime. I'll be doing the first live stream, and hopefully every Saturday after that. And let's see how we go, because it should be quite interesting. We'll bring up some stories and we're going to have a little chat. And love to converse with you on all the nerd stuff. Be absolutely amazing. Looking forward to it. And as I also always say,
I'll be back.